If you're slightly confused in terms of how to create a meaningful bucket list, then lean into today's show because I will be shedding light on the importance of creating a meaningful bucket list and then aligning it to principles from positive psychology. If you're one of my regulars, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Bybreen and I help baby boomers reinvent themselves psychologically, practically, and technically so they can thrive in their third act of life. So, this idea of the bucket list. There was an article that was written a couple of months ago, actually, and it was called Have a Retirement Bucket List. Don't hesitate, dive in. And it was actually written by Kersner Wealth Management Group. And what they do, they've been working with retirees for the last 30 years in terms of advising them in terms of how they can live a far more meaningful life. And one of the things that they identified was that there are three core elements that really do need to come together, and they tend to come together soon after retirement, and hence why the idea of diving in. So the first thing that they say is that there's a confluence of money, health, and time. And these three things come together at the earlier stages of a post-retirement life. And hence why don't wait to activate your bucket list until maybe 15, 20 years into retirement. Dive in straight away because they happen to be working with more wealthier clients in the millionaire range. And so for those of us who don't have the retirement fund of millionaires, things are still applicable. So having the money soon after retirement, or as you're moving towards retirement, you're building up this fund of retirement. I call it this fusion life as opposed to a retirement life. But what they articulate is that don't wait to activate your actual bucket list, because you may have money now, but we could be living for the next 30 years. And do you have a retirement fund that can actually stretch that period of time? If not, you want to be looking at additional ways of maximizing your income. But where you have this confluence of money, you've got the money to activate your actual bucket list. Then there's the health factor. We tend to be healthier soon after we retire. And as we age, we have problems with mobility, for example, and endurance. And we may not have enough energy to actually implement and take on this fantastic bucket list that you have created. And it doesn't matter what your bucket list is. It's the idea, don't let inertia set in. Kickstart your bucket list, get it going so that you can look back and think about your life post-retirement, or this fusion life. And what I mean by this fusion life is I'm not retired, I'm nowhere near retirement in terms of financially. However, I am 60 years old and really enjoying my fusion life, which is a composition of continuing to work, but also activating and living my bucket list dreams. And one of them, for example, is next week I'm going away on a luxury cruise. And so that's something I can tick off on my bucket list. And so they advocate that where you have the money and or the resources to activate the bucket list, and you have your health, because as we age, as I said, health kicks in. And so therefore time could be diverted away from living out your bucket list and actually on medical appointments. So we have money confluence and we have health confluence. And the next thing is time confluence. And so while we have the time where we have money and or resources that helps activate the bucket list, and we have our health, then what could we do now, whether we're leading up to retirement or actually in retirement? Well, one of the things they advocate, which I am a strong advocate of, is fitness and health and movement and well-being. So they say stay active. Because the more that we stay active in our later years, 60s, 70s, 80s and beyond, means that we have enough energy and flow and movement within our lives to take on. Let's say that you have an adventurous bucket list that you want to put together, or let's say, for example, that you want to climb Kilimanjaro, or you want to take on the walk, which is the Camino de Santiago, which is about an 800-mile long walk through Spain, or whether you want to, release baby turtles back into the ocean. It doesn't really matter what's on the bucket list, but the advocacy is around, do you have the strength? Do you have the energy? If you are currently living a more sedentary life as opposed to an active life, now is the time to start shifting, because once you move beyond the work phase, or, the post-retirement world is really shifting and changing. But if you're following the traditional model of this retirement, then really factor in, how are you now going to improve your health and your well-being? Take the time to do so. So one of my bucket list goals, beyond my lovely cruise that I'm going on, is for 2024. I want to swim 5K. So that's an endurance swim. So I've done endurance sports before in the form of marathons, road running, which I absolutely loved and I miss. But hey, my life has transitioned now. So I'm going to take on another endurance sport. And this time it's around swimming. So it does involve, staying fit, staying healthy, and staying active, because we never know when those three windows, one starts to collapse and then the other starts to collapse. We may start out with money, time, and health, but then along the way, one of them gets compromised, which then impacts upon living out this fantastic bucket list life. So whatever your bucket list is, start journaling, start, free thinking around it, start exploring what are the things that you really want to do. Tap back into the younger parts of yourself, go back to childhood if you need to, or those different moments in your life when you really were into something and then, other life realities took over. Now is the time to put the bucket list together. Now, how meaningful the bucket list, I think, is equally important. And the father of positive psychology is Martin Seligman. And he's a doctor of psychology, or he was a doctor of psychology, and he created this framework called PERMA. And PERMA is a way whereby you can infuse your bucket list with meaning, with connection, with a deep sense of, I'm not just doing this because I want to flitter away time. I'm doing this because I'm cultivating and building another dimension to who I am as a person as I move through these meaningful retirement, or as I call, fusion years. And so positive psychology is the scientific study of well-being and happiness and joy and freedom and commitment and contentment. And Martin, as I said, was the founder of positive psychology. Now, it's different from traditional psychology, because traditional psychology really does focus on pathology, cause and effect, what caused this to happen. Whereas we've got positive psychology, which is flowing into the future element of who you are, your future life. Who do you want to be, and who do you need to become in order to live this very joyful life? So there are 5 elements to PERMA, and how you can think about, as you're putting together your bucket list, how can you infuse these elements? So the first element of PERMA is positive emotions. Now, positive emotions are about joy and happiness. So when you're thinking about your list, how can you infuse joy and happiness and fulfillment and fun? All of them or some of them, that really helps to elevate your life. So when you have this connection with what you feel, it then inspires you to take on the world that you want to take on. Let's say, for example, that you want to, swim in the Great Barrier Reef, for example. Is that going to fill you with a sense of joy, with a sense of meaning, with a sense of happiness? If so, you can align it. It gives you a psychological fulfillment. It gives you the activation whereby I can't wait to take that on. So positive emotions are really important, and think about how you connect those to each and every one of your bucket list items. The second one is engagement. Now, engagement is really important, because whatever you're doing in your bucket list life, you want to feel a sense of immersion into what you're doing. one of my bucket list items is writing a collection of 100 songs. I've started, I still got a little way to go. But nonetheless, whenever I pick up the pen to start crafting stories in 3-minute sound bites, so to speak, in terms of songs, time just flies. You know, my creativity is flowing. I've got a seed of an idea of the story. Who's the hero? Who's the heroine in the song? I'm thinking of the story composition. And before I know it, hours have gone away. So when you're putting together your bucket list, you're really looking at, does this give me a sense of deep immersion? And you're not comparing your bucket list with anybody else. It's just a sense of, do I feel really connected with what is going on here? So that's engagement. Find something or a list of things that you just, you know, it just brings you joy and makes you smile. Now, the third element of PERMA is relationships. Now, relationships, personal relationships are so important. And think about in your fusion years, your fusion life, or your retirement life, how can you begin to infuse this sense of relationships? What time are you taking to actually build meaningful, loving, caring, supportive relationships? And maybe together, you are living out your bucket list life together. An example is the cruise that I'm going on. I'm going with about 20 people. Some I know, some I don't. But each of us have this joy of travel, and we're doing it luxury style. But there's a community, there's relationships, there's friendships whereby there's going to be fun, there's going to be joy, there's going to be times together, there's going to be times apart. But the important thing is, as you're creating your bucket list, who are the people around you that you're investing your time? Be intentional around that, because you can bring joy and value to their lives and they can bring it to yours. So relationships are really, really important. The fourth one is around meaning. Now, for some of you baby boomers who've been really attached to your job titles, you know, you kind of got your kudos and credentials, and you lived your life through your job, then the post-retirement life may come as a slight surprise or challenge, because the echoes of your professional life are no longer in your personal retirement life or fusion life. So how are you going to find purpose beyond your job title? Now, the wonderful thing about cultivating your bucket list items is that you're thinking about, what's my identity beyond my job title? How can I bring profundity? How can I infuse it with purpose? Is there something that's ignited in you just from the stimuli around you as you've walked through this world for at least 6 decades? How can you bring another level of meaning and purpose into your lives? Well, when you start constructing your bucket list, you will be amazed as to these aha moments, and you'll be thinking, wow, I can't wait to dive into that. And I'm shedding the layers of the corporate life or the nonprofit life or the professional life. And I've had to constrain myself in order to, quote, survive. As you know here, my whole thesis is about thriving, helping baby boomers to thrive into their third act of life. And whatever meaning and profundity and purpose means to you, grab hold of it, cultivate it, and bring it into your life. So that's the fourth one, is meaning of this PERMA framework. And then the fifth one is about accomplishments. Isn't it a wonderful feeling where you set goals, and with these goals, you're able to tick off each goal, and you sit back and you think, I did that. I invested myself, my time into creating this vision that happens to be one of my bucket list items. So accomplishments is the fifth element of this PERMA framework that will really help you to connect to your own sense of fulfillment and joy and satisfaction. So one of the, well, not even one, the multifaceted world of putting together your bucket list It's going to infuse your life. It's going to energize your life. It's going to bring vitality back into your life, or it's going to enhance your vitality. Think of yourself from, you know, a kind of full circle, a 360 kind of perspective, and chunk down the different elements. You are who you are, doing what you do, leading up to retirement. If you ever retire, maybe you're going to have this fusion life. Like I'm building up my fusion life as I continue to work. I'm living out my bucket list. So if I want to go to the theatre on a Wednesday afternoon, for example, I'll jump in and go to the theatre on a Wednesday afternoon. Me taking on this 5K swim is going to bring another level of vitality into my life, but also a sense of, wow, I did that, just like when I ran my first marathon many years ago. So accomplishment is really important. So I want to just go back over what are the 5 core elements of PERMA, that when you start constructing your bucket list, you can think about each and every one of them. Does this fill me with a positive emotion that I can't wait to get to it? There's a sense of excitement for me to be diving in to my bucket list. And actually, I don't have to wait until I retire. I'm actually going to cultivate time now. I'm living now, and going back to that article that was written by that wealth management company, and why they say to take on the bucket list sooner rather than later is because of the confluence of these 3 elements: money, time, and health. None of us know when our time is up. So while we have the time, let's do it. So we have positive emotions. We have engagement, this thing that brings us fully alive, deeply immersive, very meaningful, whereby when we come away from it, there's a deep sense of satisfaction. We think, oh, I really love doing that. Then the relationships, and don't just think of the relationships that you've had for years, and obviously you're intentional about them and you're pouring time into them because it's about creating memories. There are wonderful people all around you in the world who are looking for connection. Be intentional. One of the things about bucket lists, it helps you clarify who you are and what you're about. And so therefore you can move out into the world. And by moving out into the world and doing your bucket list, ticking off your bucket list, you're going to come into contact with so many other people that there's a community around you. That's what bucket lists can bring. Then there's a sense of meaning and profundity and deep reflection. You know, we're 60, approaching 60 and beyond 60. And so therefore we understand this sense of mature reflections where you are sitting back and you're ruminating on your life. And, you know, it is what it is. You've lived it to this point, but could it be something different? Could it be bigger? Could it be better? Could it be more dynamic? Could it bring you more solitude? You know the composition of who you are. Start intentionally creating the vision in your mind's eye, and then start jotting it down and begin to tick it off. And then accomplishment, as I said, accomplishments gives you that sense of, I did that, and I wonder what else I can do. So that's what I wanted to share with you. I'd love to hear some of your bucket list items. I can see there's some comments on my screen. So I'm going to say hi to these lovely people on my screen. So let me just scroll up, actually. There's a number of them. So here we go. We have Mon Taylor. Let's show Mon. Has that come up? Yes. Oh, thank you so much. Great presentation. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Mon. Another one from Mon Taylor. I love that. Live a joyful life. Yes, it's the one we have. We haven't got time to waste. Well, I'll speak for myself because I can only speak for myself. I'm very intentional. I have an intentional relationship with time. And if I set it into an astrological context, Kronos, Saturn, the Lord of time, of aging, of maturity, of reflections. And so I'm 60 now. I hope I've got at least another 3 decades, but who knows? And so while I'm here, I'm living with even more intention. So thank you for that, Mon. And then there's something from Soul Purpose. Mindset is everything, isn't it? Mindset, PERMA, isn't it? Emotions, is a starting point. Yeah, really tapping into emotion. I'm somebody who is both left-brained and right-brained and deeply heart-centered. And my top value is, if I can find my phone, which may be here, but my top value is kindness. And my phone isn't here because on the back of my phone, it actually has not even a reminder because it's something I live, but kindness. And so what emotions do you want to experience in your life? Where have you been shut down? Or where have you lived quite a constrained life for a whole multitude of reasons? But where can you begin to bring in the joy, the happiness, the well-being, the sense of, aha, I've done it. Or I wonder if I could do that. Where does the curiosity, how can you thread curiosity back into your life? So mindset, yes, is everything. Let me just scroll down here because there's a few of them. So thank you for sharing that. And what have we got? Engagement, yes, okay. Yeah, let's put this one back up. Or let's put this one up. Engagement, yes, this is key to building positive, connections without a doubt, and relationships. And I find that, I am an open person, and if I want to explore things, I take them on. But being present when you are with people, don't be on your phone. One of the most aggravating things is that maybe you're at a dinner, or maybe you're in company with people and you're chatting away, and there's a sense of a community of conversation, and some people are on their phones. It sends a message of disconnection. And as you begin to live out your bucket list of life, you want a sense of immersion. And that's not only in the thing you do, but with the people around you. And it's about you being present to what their interests are and how you can add value to those, as well as you want them to kind of be engaged with you as well. So you're building this wonderful heart community. Without a doubt, job titles. Oh, let's just scroll down here a little bit more. What have we got here? Let's click on this. Thank you so much for all of these comments. Really appreciate them. Yes, job titles are, I'm really not somebody into job titles at all, because, what happens is that people tend to fossilize behind the job title. I am a so-and-so. And it's like, yes, and nice, okay. But what else is there to you? Job titles, actually, I find very constraining. I haven't had too many job titles. I create the ones I want and move out into the world and just bring my full self into each and every environment that I walk into. But I, obviously I've observed and seen and how people react and behave with a sense of sometimes ego, with a sense of self-importance, with a sense of, disparaging, looking down on other people. We haven't got time for that. And that isn't allowing the real person to show themselves. So job titles, I'd say kick those to the curb sooner rather than later. And then, let's see this last one, I think. Let's just move this down. And then we have another one. Accomplishments, yes. Making your dash count. I love this. So, the moment we were born, the date and time we were born, or maybe you don't know the time, but the date you were born is clear, and but you don't know the time when it's all coming to an end. None of us knows when we are going to leave this beautiful world. And so that dash in between those dates, what could it mean for you? I hope it's not just going to be a life that I have this job or I just work to pay my mortgage and that was it. How can you begin to live a far more expansive life where you're breathing life literally into your own life? Yeah, that dash. What does that dash mean to you? To each and every one of you who happens to come across this video, for those of you who are watching, what does it actually mean to you? So yes, let me see, thank you so much for sharing all of those comments, and please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Please turn on the notification bell so you know where I'm going live. Now, next couple of weeks, I'm not going to be here in person, because I'm ticking off my bucket list. I'm going on a lovely cruise, part of my 60th and all of that. So if I can get Wi-Fi where I am, then I may try to upload something, or I may put something up that's been pre-recorded. Okay, so just to let you know, I'm not going to be around live for the next couple of weeks, but wishing you a fabulous time. Please share in the comments, what's your kind of take in terms of lists? Have you thought about your bucket list? Have you started to put it together? Have you started to tick off your bucket list? I'd love to hear. Put them in the comment box below. And also, if you know of any other fabulous baby boomers who you feel could benefit from coming to join us here every Sunday, bar the next 2 weeks at 3:30, please pass the joy on to them and tell them to come and jam out with us so that they can find ways where they continue to grow, they continue to thrive, be it psychologically, be it practically, or be it technically, so that their third act of life is even more joyous and juicy. Stay well, wonderful people, and I will see you in person in about 3 weeks' time, but there will be something on my channel for the next 2 weeks when I'm not physically here. Stay well. Bye.